As you can likely tell from this dusty, dirty, scratched up HD6, I've been really riding this bike a lot and super enjoying it. However, before I tell you my thoughts on this bike, I think it'd be really cool to jump in and do a peer review. To make this video happen, I called my friend Simon and my friend Christian, and they're on kind of different sides of the riding ability level spectrum. And we went out and rode with both of them to get both of their impressions on this bike. Now, this video is made possible thanks to my good friends over at Jensen USA. Jensen USA is an online retailer for Ibis cycles. Currently, Jensen has Ibis Mojo HD6s in stock with more on order. And I've got a link in the description below that takes you over to Jensen's listing for the HD6. And that's where you can read about all the pricing and build spec and geometry, all the details. Anything you purchase from that link will also help support my channel. It's a big part of how we make videos like this happen. Let's go ride with Simon and Christian and find out what they think about this awesome bike. Let's send it.
Nice, Simon.
What are you doing?
Fishing for the loam. Cast as much as we need to for it.
Did you get anything today?
No bites. There's no loam here in Bellingham.
Simon, thanks for coming out today.
All right, thanks, Chef.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for riding the Mondraker. Everyone loved getting a perspective on that bike.
I'm glad I could give mediocrity a voice. I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Well, if you guys haven't caught it yet, last year, Simon and another friend, Mike, we all got together to try out the enormous Mondraker Super Foxy. That video I'll link to in the corner, but today, the brand new Ibis Mojo HD6, I think we give it a similar treatment. I thought you were especially important to link in on this because your personal bike has quite a few similarities with this, right?
It's got a very similar name and the same manufacturer.
There you go.
It's the HD5.
HD5.
It's like this, but one less.
From what I remember, that was 27.5 wheels, 170, 150 something.
It's 160 in the back and it's got 170 up front because it's got the 36, but with a boost in it.
Okay.
Because I need that.
Are you familiar with the details of the HD6?
Not at all.
Kind of similar, but totally different,
Okay.
as they'd say on YouTube. So 29-inch front wheel, so you've grown 1.5 inches up front, but carrying over the same 27.5 back wheel, 180 front travel, 165 in back. And then there's some other geometry things. I'll just tell you right now so you know, but I don't want to taint your perspectives.
I won't notice.
It did get a little bit longer.
Okay.
And then they made a small head tube because the fork got so much taller.
Yep.
To me, the handlebars feel like they're in a similar height, and the seat angle feels a tad steeper to me. Bigger shock length than the older bike, so the suspension feels a tad different, and you can report if it's better or not.
Okay, I will.
Well, let's go see how this thing does on the trails and have a good time.
All right.
Let's shred.
All right.
Before we do jump into the ride impressions, let's take a quick moment to appreciate just how much better Simon's gotten at mountain biking since the last time we filmed together. Good work, Simon. And we had a wonderful time with Simon the other day in the same spot, shredding these same trails. So for today, to get the other end of the spectrum, Christian here, very hardcore local rider dude, absolutely shreds on a bike. Yeah, Christian, you've got a bit of a racing background?
Yeah, raced last decade or so, stepped away a little bit, but plenty of time on a bike and good at throwing a leg over things blind, so should be fun today.
Christian's too modest. He was chasing EWS dreams for quite a while there. He's really fast. Definitely different end of the spectrum than from our previous experiences, and I think it's good. Spice things up a little bit. Thanks for joining us. Let's go ride a little.
Heck yeah.
And let me know what you think of the HD6.
Yeah, excited to feel it out.
I think we can all agree that Christian definitely won best t-shirt in this video.
Oh shit, that's gonna be a problem.
What's up?
I realized when we started this ride, oh look, there it is. It's like I just lost the top of my water bottle. Oh. I was like, why am I getting all wet?
Well, thank you for meeting up with us
Boom.
and trying out the new bike.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me back.
Of course. Yeah, folks were stoked on you. I think you're the most celebrated guest on my YouTube channel to date. So
That's interesting. I don't know how to respond to that. Mediocrity is back.
But you're the perfect candidate for this video because you mostly ride an HD5. That's your personal bike.
It is.
And was that the last bike you rode before the HD6?
Yes, if you don't include the 1990 bike that I just bought.
Oh, the old hardtail.
Yeah.
Just being one model number newer than the HD5, did this feel at all similar to your personal bike?
There's similarities because it's a bike. It doesn't feel vastly different when I'm riding it. I think I picked up on more squish up front, but that's likely because it's got a bigger wheel and more travel up front. And we started off by going down a super technical section, so it was very transparent to me.
That he had more cushion, more forgiveness in the front.
I kept on nose diving is basically what was happening when I was going slow over technical stuff.
But it didn't feel drastically different in general.
No, it's not feeling majorly different. Like there's nothing where I'm just like, oh, this is wildly different.
Yeah, it's weird. Like this bike doesn't feel like a 27.5 because it's got the bigger front end.
True.
But then it doesn't feel like a true 29er because the back end is a little bit more maneuverable. So
also true. We shall call it a mullet. This is the first mullet that I've ridden. So again, like I didn't come into this with much of an impression of what that was going to mean for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to leave with much of an impression of what that's going to mean for me. I notice it. Do I need it in my life? I don't know right now.
So what is your current mountain bike?
I have been on a V1 carbon Sentinel, transition Sentinel. So full 29er, 140 mil in the back, 150 up front. And you know, I came off a 170 bike before that. It's 27.5 though. My Sentinel's 29 front and back. This one's Mullet and longer travel. Honestly, it's so far, maybe it's a combo of like the longer travel but smaller wheel on the back. The back end feels very similar to what I'm used to currently. What I've noticed most today so far is the bigger front end. A little bit of that is the 38 versus I ride a 36. You know, tracking's been bang on, but it is a noticeably taller front end. Definitely wants to monster truck and wants a little bit more trail thrown at it to really wake up, but it's been doing great. The only thing I'm really experiencing that's a watch out thing for me is just the front wheel wants to wash a little bit. Like I'm noticing some transitions, the wheel just untracks for a second, but it's predictable. Even when it's sliding, it feels good and it comes back, so.
Could also be the 1 inch of sand on top of the trail today.
Very dusty today, so I'm sure I'd be sliding my bike around too, but.
So hopping on this bike, you'd ridden an Ibis Ritmo before, right?
Yeah, actually, I almost got a Ritmo. Spent a lot of time on a Ritmo. It was between the Ritmo and my Sentinel when I got it. Transition is local, so it was easy to keep the dollars in the backyard.
How was your confidence level diving right into the trail on this new bike immediately?
Yeah, no, I had hopes, you know, being Ibis with their suspension platform, it works well. And that's what I remember mostly from my Ritmo. I was test riding 20, 30 different bikes and bike brands that off season, and I kept coming back to the Ritmo out of them all. I liked it a lot. So this, you know, just visually looking at the linkage, I had hopes that it would feel somewhat similar, but it doesn't. Feels better, feels different in many ways, but it tracked right away for me, you know. Right out of the rip, nice chunky climb out of the parking lot and then straight into some technical trail. It worked, you know, as I'm getting used to a brand new bike, it's not throwing me offline immediately. It's anything that's been really going wrong is just rider error.
Good job on the climb, dude.
All things considered, it's riding really great, and it's a lot of fun. It wants a little more, you know, a little bit more speed or a little bit more trail to really come alive, but even at the slower speeds or even uphill tech, it's planted. I'm not feeling a lot of pedal bob on the flatter stuff or climbing stuff, but likewise, it doesn't feel it's just like droopy, infinite downhill bike style travel. Like it's very alive and dynamic throughout its travel.
So I think like the most important thing when someone's talking about a bike is how they personally felt on it. Because that's the best thing you can mention. How did you feel with the bigger front? Was that noticeable? Was it slower? Was it safer? Was it more stable? What was it that felt different?
It felt different on the slower tech sections. I mean, I was able to roll through stuff and roll over stuff. I'm noticing as we're in a much faster section of trail right now, I like how it's responding. But again, like difference-wise, I don't know. Like again, I just think that this has got more front-end travel than my current bike. Beyond that, everything else is feeling pretty familiar, which I like.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was gonna like back up a little bit and say like, so you had this 170 bike in the past, your current bike's quite a bit shorter travel.
Yeah.
Ignoring the numbers, the feel of this bike compared to the feel of your 140, 150 bike, how far apart are they?
They're really close. The only thing that keeps catching my attention in a big way is the front end travel. You know, that's 30 more mils than I have right now. And it's obvious, you know, I can feel it on a few of the jumps where I for sure will bottom my fork out on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't bottomed out. I've gotten really, really close today, but not technically, I don't think.
I feel like for the 8-foot plus heights that you're coming down to the earth, not quite bottoming with that much travel is kind of okay, because if we made it a bunch softer, it might be too soft and you might be too sagged in kind of hard, because right now it's riding so good everywhere else.
I like to save a couple last percent of travel for those oh crap moments.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really happy seeing the ring where it's at.
And you've definitely bottomed out and back, or
bottomed
if
out
not,
the back.
I feel like you've bottomed it and back,
Yeah,
probably.
I bottomed out the back. I've hit the rims once or twice today. So, they're still working. These trails we're riding today, I've raced on them for years and years and years. So I'm kind of hard in line to just hit those aggressive race lines that aren't the gentlest on bikes. So, and it's been nice to feel, one, the bike being able to ride whatever I want to point it at. You know, it's not the bike holding me back from my lines. It's me holding myself back, getting used to a bike. But it's begging me to not hold back and keep going.
So sometimes folks say that the downsides to a bigger enduro style bike, bigger wheel especially, is that when you get to the tighter corners, that it's hard to get the bike back and forth through the turn. How has it been for you to, because we've hit plenty of slow tight turns.
Yeah, no challenge on maneuverability.
No challenge.
I
Sweet.
don't feel any challenge. I can't be challenged. I didn't notice at all. Like that last bike, I did notice on some of the
Mondraker?
Yeah, the Mondraker on some of the tighter turns. Yeah, it was more noticeable. I assume it's a little bit longer than this one. Yeah, this one's been fine on everything.
For a bigger travel bike, it's still, like I said, very dynamic, very poppy and alive when you need it to be. So it gives back whatever you put into it a little extra.
If you are an active rider pumping and pushing into the bike, it doesn't just soak that up immediately. It rewards you with forward momentum.
I think I've noticed it most out of corners, like loading up into big corners when I'm really compressed and leaned over. As I stand up out of the corner and get to pedal, it really jumps
Oh, it
forward.
springs right out, yeah.
So
there's no wind up of the frame, there's no weird rebounding stuff.
very stiff, you know, bikes tracks perfectly, but that's been the most noticeable thing, I'd say, in between jumping, dropping, everything we're doing today. Exiting corners and getting that lift out of the corner and into the first couple pedal strokes, you really get, you know, whatever pedal you put in, you're getting a lot of forward momentum for that from such, you know, this abnormal feeling usually for a longer travel bike. So.
And then another kind of thing to discuss with bigger bikes is getting them into the air and off the trail. Often when you have more suspension travel, you run a similar percentage of sag, but that's more travel you're sunken into, so you got to get past that to get airborne.
Yeah.
I saw you going for a bunch of jumps today. How did you feel? Stuck to the ground? Did it feel like you were ready to get airborne? How was it in terms of pop?
Yeah, it's fine. It's got plenty, again, for me, plenty of pop. And yeah, it works just fine for that. Again, I'm more comfortable on this than that Mondraker.
Sure.
But again, it's dry. It's a trail that I have actually ridden before, and it's very similar to my bike.
That's what I was gonna say. It's not that all that different than your HD5.
Yeah.
So I see you jumping a ton, which is sweet.
Yeah.
I've noticed a bunch of lines that I've ridden, but I've never tried jumping them before.
Yeah.
How does this thing jump?
Really good. I bias a lot of my weight and aggression towards the fork and the front end of the bike. You know, this with all the travel up front and then also more travel than I'm used to in the rear. It's been really easy to test it into just jumping into things and see how it handles, whether there's a landing or not, or if I miss the landing. It's been all good so far today. First time also for me riding a mulleted bike, the smaller back end. So much new things all at once, it's hard to say what's doing what, but it's all the bike setup. So it's been fun, and definitely for just throwing a leg over it, I'm very comfortable testing out my normal lines and going for my trickier little sniper jumps and stuff like that.
One downside to bigger bikes is slowing them down. It can be, if you've got a big wheel, it can be a lot of effort to slow it down before you get to something hard. Has that been?
Not a challenge. I've got a secret for this one.
Okay.
Don't go as fast initially. A lot easier to slow down. I don't ride at your pace. So again, it's different. But again, like no challenges here. Like when I want to slow down, for me, it's It's super responsive. It's good. I'm not sliding out on it. I'm not skidding it around. It's it does what I want it to do. I appreciate that.
Cool. Very important question. Everyone's going to want to know, how does it manual?
It manuals. It wants to get to the manual real quick, but I've gotten used to it even in the short few hours on it, and it really locks in. Definitely, like once you're in that zone, I think the smaller wheel on the back lets you get lower on the bike and not have to move as much yourself around the bike, so it's a little easier to control, especially if you're in trail trying to do some technical riding, kind of manualing. But got to push the point until I fall off the bike, and then I can give a better answer. But
don't fall off today.
Yeah, we'll see. But no, it's great. It's a very playful bike for sure. Planted and normal when you want it to be, and just pedals and does its job, but is very much ready to be let out of the cage if you want it.
There's a lot of hoopla online that, oh, it's unfortunate this bike's a Mullet. I'm never gonna buy a Mullet. I just want matching 29.
No, I mean, there is that point. The mechanic in me is always like, okay, that's now 2 wheel sizes, 2 tire sizes, 2 tube sizes, but you can use 27.5 tube and a 29er wheel just fine. I mean, it wouldn't hold me back from buying a bike necessarily. It is kind of the normal thing nowadays, so it's been really, really fun. It's my first time on a Mullet setup, so it's been totally fun. Coming from all 29er, and my bike before that was all 27.5. You know, my trail bike now is 29, my downhill bike's 27.5, and I'm very familiar with both platforms, but the smaller wheel size is noticeable for me when I stuff it into corners. You know, like something I notice on all 29-inch bikes is, you know, sometimes I buzz my butt with a rear tire, and I haven't done that once today.
Oh, sweet.
So, so far, yeah, it's definitely noticeable. It's fun. It's not noticeable in bad ways. It's noticeable in fun ways.
So you noticed the front end felt a bit plusher and that you had more travel. Did it make the trail resultingly feel like it was too easy?
Nope.
Didn't mute the trail too much? It's still exciting and fun?
I don't think it made the trail any easier for me per se, but again, I did notice that coming down some of these faster sections, some of the drops, techie pieces, it was fine just to kind of relax and let the bike do what the bike needs to do going through it. So I like that. So that's my roundabout way of saying it must be giving me some confidence.
I was going to say, watching you hit some of these drops in some of the faster sections, especially when it was your second time through, you looked totally, you know, game face, just charging through, carrying good speed.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for not bringing me out when it's wet.
Like last time?
Like last time.
And Mike got a dry day. That wasn't fair.
That wasn't fair at all.
And then a good question to ask before we wrap this all up. Is this too much bike for someone that's going to ride the trails that we're riding today? Or are you still having fun on it?
No, totally not. You know, the only thing I would say in terms of trail riding, if you're not just going up and down, if you're actually doing loops or more technical riding, the front end is noticeable on techier climbs or steeper climbs. It does not necessarily want to lift, but it takes very little input to start a lift and get it going up and over something. So definitely, for how big travel the bike is, it is more than adequate of, I would say, all day pedals. I mean, right now, just today, I'd already be happy saying, yeah, I'll take it out in a big, epic ride. It wouldn't be, you know, the most cross-country bike, but on every downhill section you have on that ride, you're going to be grinning ear to ear on a big bike. So it climbs well, and we've put it through some technical climbs today that are not easy climbs that I struggle with on my bike, and it goes up it. So
some would call them impossible.
Some would, yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, like I would notice it a lot more, I feel, as a daily driver. I was thinking about this earlier, like, would this be a replacement for what I'm on right now? And that I couldn't give you a straight answer to right now.
Okay.
I would need to take it on some less downhill oriented trails.
Sure.
To work that one out.
Go do some up blues, up greens.
I mean, it's been climbing good on everything that I've taken it up thus far. So I like that. I just want to know what it would feel like for like a long, 20-mile comfort ride.
Totally. I noticed that seat angle and the rider positioning when you're seated for climbing felt very natural and good. The suspension wasn't moving too easily.
Yep.
But the one thing I was kind of going against it is that the front end is so long. When you have a tight switchback, you have to think about a lot more because it's going to swing through the turn a lot more as you're pivoting around the switchbacks.
It wasn't too bad though, because that first climb we did where I was kind of, you know, zigzagging my way up to as far as I could get,
Simon.
at least. Again, it wasn't lifting super high, so that was good, and it was holding Yeah, I was holding traction pretty good then. The only reason it failed was user error.
Anything that you absolutely don't like about it and would keep you going away from it?
No, I mean, it'd be really hard for me to say so far that I totally don't like this. You know, there's space for a bottle cage, there's extra mounts for tools. I like the suspension platform. I like the bigger shocks, the X2 or the, you know, Air Vivid or something like that. Seems stout. I'm familiar with Ibis from a mechanical standpoint and a maintenance standpoint. I know their linkages are easy to service and swap and rebuild. So I'd be stretching really far to say I don't like something about this bike outright. It's a very fun bike and great specs. So.
And even better, you get to ride it and it's not yours, so you don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, no, can't be unhappy on a free bike day. So.
No. Thank you so much for coming out and riding with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me back. It's been a pleasure, and you know, once again, happy to show you a few tricks.
Thank you. I need that. Well, we've still got plenty of trail to do, so let's keep riding. I've noticed that you're looking better and better on this bike the more you've been on it. It looks like it's your regular bike when I see you riding around.
It's
so
fun.
Yeah, it seems like you've adapted to it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I like it. I might liberate it from you.
It's not mine, so don't do that.
Might liberate it from Ibis.
There you go. There you go. Sorry, Ibis. I told him no.
You'll never find me.
Cool. Let's go try the rest of the trail.
All right,
Sweet.
let's do it.
Thank you, Simon. Well, sweet. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below. Who do you ride more like? Do you ride like Christian, or do you ride like Simon? Or do you ride like Simon, but in your dreams, do you ride like Christian? Let us know. Let us know if you like this format. Hit the subscribe button. Thanks to Jensen USA for making all this possible. I've linked to the HD6 down in the YouTube description down below. And yeah, peace and wheelies, everyone. I'll see you down in the comments. Thanks again, Christian.
Of course.
You.